Let's try it again, shall we? Hopefully everything is working good. Hopefully we're not going to have any more issues. I can't control the internet, guys. I wish I could, trust me. But that's just not in the cards right now. Looking to, by the way, before we even move any further, looking to get some equipment to better the live stream and allow us to do this a little bit more fluidly, and hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. So we are going to move right back into it. I'm just going to go ahead and start it from the top. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully we're not lagging anymore. I appreciate you guys telling me that. And again, look, if we ever have issues like that, just let me know in the chat. That's again, it's all I can do. But I will restart and talk about just the Braves roster, talk about spring training, and then we'll end up talking about Mike Soroka towards the end. Of course, I'll try to get to your questions at some point tonight. But for right now, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to start out talking about the roster. But before we do, again, I got to pay the bills. So Llerandi Gloves, www.Llerandi Gloves, down in the description below. Guys, go check them out. They are wonderful people. They make wonderful gloves. You can't beat it. High quality, customizable. And look, for the bang for the buck, the price, you can't beat it. I'm telling you, $200 off any other kind of glove like this. Go check it out. Do me a favor, like this video, get it out there. Of course, subscribe if you're new. Right near 1,700 subscribers. That always makes my day when we hit another 100. So we're like 4 away or something like that. But go ahead, tell your friends, tell them about this channel, share this video, do all that good stuff. It really helps me out and broadens my audience, and that always makes me happy. So let's talk about the Braves roster, shall we? The roster is really taking shape. We're getting a clear picture of what the roster is going to look like on opening day. It's pretty much laid out. I'll probably do a video later on in the week, just going ahead and laying out the opening day roster, telling you about who's on what and who's it going to be. But we pretty much know, based on the moves they've made, who's on the roster, who's not for opening day. It's pretty already laid out. But there were some pretty interesting transactions this week. The most surprising, of course, was Bryce Wilson. And we had every reason to think that the Braves were going to let Bryce Wilson, take every fifth day until Soroka's inevitable return. But, that didn't end up happening. We're going to talk about that in a second. But Kyle Wright being optioned the day before this gave me all the confidence in the world to just tell you, hey, guess what? Bryce Wilson is going to be your fifth starter. I was more than happy to tell you that because I was very confident because there was no one else really, in my opinion, that was going to take that role over Bryce Wilson. Instead, the Braves decided to option him to the alternative training site, and that was very surprising to me, to Braves fans, to Braves media, to really everybody. It was very interesting there. To me, again, all the headlines pointed to one thing, and that was Bryce Wilson taking the ball every fifth day. It's, this is a perfect example of how shady some of the headlines are throughout spring training. Everybody knows something, and in reality, no one knows anything. It's not intentional, but a lot of things are just hard to predict, and this was one of those cases. So right now, it's looking like either Josh Tomlin or Sean Newcomb could take that role early on. At least that's what some people are saying. I think it could also be Waskari Noah. I think that would be a suitable replacement. We do know there will be at least one bullpen game. Of course, I did that video earlier today. I encourage you really go check it out. It's a very informative video on the early part of the season, specifically the month of April. We really focus on it. I basically built a makeshift calendar and laid out what I think is going to happen in terms of the pitching staff. It's a very informative video, and I encourage you, go watch it after we get done here. And a lot of people have already checked it out. I suggest you do the same. But with that being said, I know that there are a lot of questions that are going to come my way about how I feel about Bryce Wilson being sent down. I took a deep dive today, and I see the reasoning behind it, right? With a bullpen game, you can save pitching. People will be on 4 days rest, 6 days rest. It's never really a long period of time where Max Fried is coming off 3 days rest or anything like that when you throw in a bullpen game, and it's only like max 2 or 3. And I don't even think it's going to be that much because on the 13th, I think that could be Bryce Wilson. I still think that's the case. So with that being said, did I expect this move? Of course not. No one, I think, did, except maybe the Braves, obviously. I thought Bryce Wilson had earned this. I thought he had earned that spot. He obviously wanted it, quote unquote, more than anything. Much of you thought he earned it. I saw a lot of comments on Twitter. I saw a lot of comments on Facebook today talking about why is Bryce Wilson being sent down. A lot of you guys were even still supportive of Kyle Wright taking that spot, which I thought was pretty interesting. But I've heard a lot of people say, even in articles I've read, saying that I guess Bryce Wilson didn't show anything to the Braves that made them feel confident. I guess Kyle Wright, they don't have confidence in him to start the season. I really don't think that's the case. I don't. Maybe with Kyle Wright because he has like a 4 ERA right now after the spring. But to me, there's no reason to have faith. I mean, no reason to not have faith in Bryce Wilson specifically because after the spring he just had, and really after the postseason he had more so than anything, there's no reason to not have faith in him. He performed excellent versus the Dodgers. Question is, why not just put him in that role? Again, you'd be putting him in that role just to take it away from him as soon as Soroka comes back, which is likely in a couple of weeks. So this is a guy that has already been up and down. We've seen him in the majors. We've seen him go back down. And, at one time, that was the case. But now I don't think that's going to happen again. And I think the Braves want to ensure that that doesn't happen again. I think that, both Wilson and Wright, they want to give them time to develop. They want to give them that valuable minor league experience that can't be copied in the majors and to be ready throughout the rest of this year whenever they may need them. I mean, if Drew Smyly was to get hurt tomorrow, I think Bryce Wilson would be put in that spot ready to go. But if they can give him more time in the minors, I see no issue with it. And I do think they can get away with it, if you want to call it that, throughout the next month. I think that's going to be fine. Not to mention Soroka is rumored to potentially be back by the 13th. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I think it's more than likely going to be after the 23rd. But with that said, you can get away with some bullpen games. Huascar Ynoa, Josh Tomlin, they've both started games before. We can do that. Let's do it. But to me, I do think Wilson may get the call on the 13th and then possibly be a part of the bullpen or a spot starter for the remainder of the year, similar to what Ynoa has been and is probably going to be at the beginning of the season. It wouldn't surprise me to see Kyle Wright stay in the minor leagues all year long, just because he's really struggled with consistency. And if he can get his consistency down, that would be great. And he'd be ready for next year. He may have an appearance at the end of the year. It just would not surprise me to see him stay in the minors throughout the season because, frankly, the competition at starting rotation is thick right now. You got a former All-Star and Charlie Morton. You got Drew Smyly, who's looked excellent so far in spring training, with the exception of one appearance. Mike Soroka's returned. Max Fried was in the Cy Young conversation last year. Ian Anderson, the Rookie of the Year conversation. There are a lot of guys there that can fill that role, and even in the bullpen, there are guys that can fill that role. Huascar Ynoa, ready to go. And there's also long relievers. So I just think Kyle Wright may be better off to stay in the minors and not try to compete with guys that are already at the major league level. But I think both of those guys are going to be factors later on in their career in the next couple of seasons for the Braves, whether or not they get traded or whatever. If they stay with the Braves, they are going to be a factor. Bryce Wilson is good enough to be a factor right now. And he came in this year, again, with just a different attitude. He made his point clear. I want to be in the starting rotation. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to happen at the moment. But it is dive on the plan of April. See it. Go check out that video. It's on the channel. Came out today. I really encourage you, go check it out. It's a really good watch, and it's very informative. But Wilson was far from the only move. Kyle Wright was far from the only move this week. I told you to expect a lot of moves. I knew that was coming because there were a lot of guys left in spring training with not that many spots for them. So a lot of choices had to be made, and choices were made. One of those choices was to keep A-Ray Adrianza on the roster, rightfully so, as a bench player. I think that's the right move, obviously, at least for the time being, until his bat slows up, maybe. But, to me, the scoop on this guy right now is that he is a super utility guy. He was a super utility player for the Twins, and that's a very valuable, versatile. If he can go into the infield and the outfield and do things like that, or anything of that nature where he can be put in multiple positions, that is a very good thing, especially considering the valuable loss of Charlie Culberson. Of course, he went to the Rangers in the offseason. By the way, he made the opening day roster for the Rangers, so congrats, Charlie Culberson. But not to mention, Adrianza's offense has been outstanding this spring. And if you can translate that to the season, he can bring some much needed stability to the Braves' questionable bench. But the Braves also had to part with some guys as well. So they released Jake Lamb, which to me wasn't surprising. I told you that was going to happen last week. It's just not surprising. His stats this spring were poor. They weren't good, and it's just not surprising. They also released Phillip Ervin. Again, not really a surprise. I told you that was likely going to happen. Just nowhere to put him. Didn't have a terrible spring necessarily, but certainly didn't have a great one either. I think Jake Lamb's spring would probably be considered quote unquote worse just because the Braves expected a little bit more out of him, or at least were hopeful of a little more out of him. Of course, he's a former All-Star, and that just didn't end up accumulating to anything. But they did keep Nate Jones, which, he had a pretty good spring. He's going to be a bullpen guy. And, he came to the Braves this offseason. He had an ERA just north of 1 in the spring, and it'll be interesting to see if that can last. He did struggle in 2020, but hopefully that's an outlier. I mean, it was the COVID season. I hate using that excuse for somebody, but at the end of the day, it's COVID. We all know how it affected our lives, so imagine how it's affecting them. The one that has caught a lot of attention, a lot of articles have focused on him that did get a contract is Pablo Sandoval. And Pablo has been up and down over the past few years. We all know the Braves have really given him every chance to prove himself. And give credit where it's due. He had a really good spring. I told you that there might be something left in the tank. I still think that's the case. He had a 3-for-3 day like last week. This guy could still be very valuable as a bench piece. And I also think he'd be really good for young players, specifically Latin young players, and the Braves have a multitude of those. And he has postseason experience, which is irreplaceable. So, it's a good thing for the Braves to have for players to bounce things off of. And he knows a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two. You can't replace that kind of knowledge. So the two surprises to me were, and I wouldn't even call both of them a surprise. There was one surprise, but we do know Contreras, was in a battle with Alex Jackson. He got sent down. But that's more of a clarification than it was a surprise, I think. A lot of Braves fans were hoping that his time was now. Heck, I was hoping his time was now. I think it'll be a matter of time before we see him in the majors because, again, Travis d'Arnaud's contract ends at the end of this year, and the Braves are really stacked at the catching position. It might not be necessary for the Braves to keep Travis d'Arnaud, especially if he doesn't repeat what he did last season. But, again, Contreras' bat is valuable, but they don't really need any help with the offense at the moment. Maybe they just need somebody behind the plate, and if they can get another year of control out of Contreras or anything like that, or, if they can get more valuable minor league experience, I don't see a problem with that. But I think we can all agree it's a matter of time before we see him in the major leagues. The real surprise was the optioning of Johan Camargo. Now, Camargo has a lot of name value with Braves fans. We all know him. We all love him. But his stats were not great this spring. He had a 190 batting average and only a 227 on-base percentage. So hopefully he'll go to the alternative training site and get those stats up. But for right now, it's just not looking good. The thing about it, to me, is he's a guy that can play a lot of positions. Of course, the rumor was that he wasn't looking good at shortstop, right? And that's the main thing that was going to keep him at the major league level for the Braves as a backup for Dansby if need be. But, he wasn't really doing so hot at that position, and his bat wasn't holding up, so he got optioned. But, he really shouldn't have fallen off, you would think, because he never stopped. He went right into the Dominican League. It's just all very surprising. Hopefully he'll turn it around, and hopefully he'll get turned around. But we do have some more news. Of course, we brought up Mike Soroka a good bit in this opening monologue here, but my big news today popped up on my phone a little later in the afternoon. And I mentioned a few weeks ago that there was a possibility Mike Soroka has an appearance before the end of the spring. I didn't know how much truth was behind it. I didn't know what was going to really be. I didn't know how true that was, because if we found anything out this week, it's that you can't really believe media at spring training about anything. And it's not their fault. It's just everything's a gray area. And this is certainly a gray area when you're talking about return from injury, especially an Achilles injury. But again, he will be returning tomorrow. Mike Soroka will be returning tomorrow. That's very exciting news for the Braves. It's very exciting news for Braves fans because, again, I hate to remind you, but we all remember when Mike Soroka went down. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it It just hurts. But, he will be returning tomorrow. He's currently scheduled to throw 1 inning against the Red Sox tomorrow. That game is at 12:05. If you have MLB TV, you get to watch it. If you don't, unfortunately, you'll have to resort to 680 The Fan. But hopefully maybe MLB Network will pick it up and just air that 1 inning or something like that. Hopefully there will be some highlights for us to see. So, again, tomorrow, Mike Soroka will return, again, 12:05 against the Red Sox. That is a very good thing. Hopefully, obviously, the Braves don't want to push him. That's a very smart thing to do. And I don't think they want to push him for multiple reasons. Most notably, they want him to be a fundamental part. Could that mean he returns on April 13th instead of Bryce Wilson? Possibly. Again, I don't think the Braves are really ready to push him. If he's looking great, then, of course, I think, that could happen. But for right now, I don't think Mike Soroka there's a reason to rush him back. When you have Bryce Wilson sitting there ready to go, when you have the starting pitching ready to go. And, of course, you don't want to ruin this guy's career by making him out to be out another year over an Achilles injury. So, it is what it is. I think it's more than likely going to be, towards 23rd, 30th, maybe wait another week, let him get some more reps under his belt before he can really do anything, pushing himself. I would really just like to wait. I can wait a little longer, but it will be fun to see him tomorrow. So we are going to go up in the chat in a few minutes and talk about that. But before we do, we're going to pay the bills real quick. Again, www.LlerandIGloves.com. I actually have another one back here. 2 for you. So you got a black and a red one right here. Look, these things are high quality. They're customizable. There are 18 different colors you can choose from. You can pick what flap you want, what color. It's worth a look. Just go check it out. Look, those guys, you can call them on the phone. They are very helpful. They want you to be happy with your glove, and you cannot beat the price. This is a great Christmas present, great birthday present, great baseball season present, whatever the case may be. If your kid plays baseball, trust me, go check this out. It is a very good piece to go check out. So again, www.LlerandIGloves.com. Go check them out. I would really appreciate it, and I know they would too. So we're going to talk about y'all's questions as we gear up for the end of spring training tomorrow. Man, we're really getting close, and it's a good thing. We'll have fans in the ballpark this year, and that's going to be a big change, and I'm happy to be back with that. So, all right, listen to Jesus. Go ahead and like, sub, and turn on post notifications. That really helps me out. See, a lot of you guys are tuning in tonight. Really appreciate it. Do me a favor, like this video. Get it out there. Get it out to Braves fans. Really helps me out. And, gets me, obviously, more exposure and helps me out here at the channel. So it really helps me out. Thank you. Let me see. What's up with Valley taking over Fox Sports? Will the Braves get more money for TV rights and thus more cash for a bigger budget in 2021? I don't think it correlates with the budget like Atlanta Kid says down there. I really think they're just changing names, honestly. That's the only thing that's going to change for you. They're staying on the same channel, all that good stuff. I don't think you're going to have to worry about anything like that. I think it's just a company change, no different than any other company change. Hey, Tyler, the Texas Rangers owe Odor $27 million over the next 2 years, but the Rangers cut him to make Culberson the starting second baseman. Good job, Charlie. He beat out a $27 million player. If that's true, which I haven't heard that, so I can't verify it, but if that's true, good job, Charlie. It's no secret I'm a Charlie Clutch fan here. I've interviewed him. He's a super nice guy. Did a lot in Atlanta, a lot of community work in Atlanta, and I really just like him. I think he's a very genuine person, and he works his tail off. If there's anybody that deserves playing time, it is Charlie Culberson. Let me see. Hey, Tyler, do you think the Braves cut Bryce Wilson so they can re-sign King Hernandez? I heard Felix just opted out of his contract with the Baltimore Orioles. No, I don't think so. I don't think the Braves are going back with the Orioles or going back with Felix. I think that was a one-and-done thing. They gave him a shot. He, of course, opted out. And, I think his situation with the Orioles is different. He must have just not made the major league roster or something, or he feels like Carl Edwards did, where he can make more money in theory, and maybe he can. With the Braves, he opted out because COVID, and the Braves don't really need him. Honestly, I don't see him being much better, and I know this is a shame, but I don't see him being any better than Bryce Wilson is right now, or I think he would have the same struggles as those guys have. So. No, I don't think that's the case. Which one of the streaky players breaks that curse this year? Austin Riley. Easy, off the cuff, Austin Riley. I think he is going to really be good. Ronald Acuna's had a really good spring. He's hitting homers every time I turn around, but he's not really streaky. But Austin Riley is, and I don't know that he's even streaky. He's just had struggles, but I think he's going to break that this year and really turn into the player that we've hoped he'd be for the past couple of years. Hey, Tyler, I'm still confused as to why Jacob Webb did not make the team. He isn't really a prospect anymore, and I feel like he's better than half or close to half of the guys they put in the bullpen. Give it time. Jacob Webb is a guy, I don't know how his spring was. I haven't really had a chance to look at everybody's spring. On top of my head, I can't place him. But I do know what he did last year. I agree with you. That guy is a stud. I do know they have a ton of right-handers, and that might be a factor. Maybe they're just trying to, see who's who. But yeah, I didn't get that either. I thought Jacob Webb would be a staple myself. That was a bit strange to me. Maybe they're seeing something we just can't see. But that's a good question, honestly. Let me see. I already answered that. Hey, Tyler, what's the deal with Shane Green? Shouldn't he just retire? Clearly nobody wants him. He's asking for. I think that's ultimately what it is. Maybe it's a situation where he's already got a deal similar to what Ozuna was doing, where he was real quiet and we all thought nobody wanted Ozuna, which was crazy. Look, Shane Green is good. He left in the tank. That's funny, though. I would like the Braves to pick him up. I think it's crazy that no one has, honestly. So it's a very strange to me. When Soroka returns, how would you set the starting five? To me, it doesn't matter how you set the starting five. And when you throw somebody in towards the middle of the season, it's kind of hard to – it doesn't really matter where you throw him in. I think you throw him in wherever the first bullpen game was going to be when his inevitable return is. That way you keep the 5-game routine up. You keep all that stuff ready to go. I think he'll either return on the 13th or he'll return around the 23rd or 30th, if that late, which I think it'll probably be the 23rd. If I had to pick one date, it would be the 23rd. But right now, according to my calendar that I dropped today in that video, I believe it's Fried, Morton, Anderson, Smiley, bullpen game. And bullpen game would probably be Soroka as time went on. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who is the opening day starter when you're thrown into the middle of the rotation halfway into the season or a month into the season, whatever the case may be. It's just not the case. I wish we kept one of Kipnis or Lamb. Yeah, I really thought they were going to keep Kipnis. I didn't think they would keep Lamb. Kipnis, though, had a decent average. He, is a backup infielder, but they obviously didn't feel like they need him. And he seems like he's still going to stay in Atlanta. He tweeted today something about Atlanta realtors that irritated him, but it's looking like it's going to be right now. It's looking like he's going to be on the roster. So it's very interesting. Miguel Frica, hope I'm saying your name right. Tyler, how come Victor Arana, I guess Victor Arana and Sabatka are in Braves 40-man rosters. So do you think the Braves will be competitive with only Adrianza and Pablo, Inciarte, and Jackson cannot hit? Adrianza for right now can. Pablo for right now can. Inciarte is getting paid $8 million, so he's going to be on that bench regardless. And Jackson is suitable behind the plate. I don't think the bench has to be that great because our starting pitching is that great this year. They are good. They are more well-rounded. Your bench players your bench and your bullpen are kind of always thrown together, right? The Braves had a really good advantage last year when their starting pitching went out because the bullpen was stellar. Like we haven't had a bullpen like that in a long time. So you can't really replace that. But with the bench, of course, you lost Duvall, which I thought would be a great bench player. And then you lost Charlie Culberson, so they're piecing it together. There's no mistake about that. Everybody's making a really big deal about the bench, and rightfully so. It is a big deal, but it's not as big a deal as I think a lot of people are making it. I think Pablo, the guy, in terms of Inciarte and Jackson, I can't defend that. But in terms of Pablo and Adrianza, for right now, they haven't shown me any reason that they haven't earned that. Inciarte and Jackson, I would agree on Inciarte and Jackson can't hit. I think Inciarte can hit. He had a 200-hit season not that long ago. He just aims for the fence every time now. If they can be a suitable and get a base hit every now and then, that's what a bench is. Ultimately, who would you rather hit, Sean Newcomb or Inciarte? That's my question for you. So ultimately, I think that they'll be just fine. I think the offense that the Braves have, think about this. Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies, Freddie Freeman, Marcelo Zuna, Travis d'Arnaud, Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, and so on. And Christian Pache, right? In theory, that's your lineup. So with that, I think they'll score a lot of runs, and I think they'll be just fine offensively. Of course, in a pinch hit role, you want somebody that's going to put bat on ball, and I think Pablo and Adrianza are those guys most of the time. But look, Inciarte's a guy we all know. I'm not saying he's the best, but I think he would be suitable. I like Kipnis, scrappy veteran. Yeah, I like Kipnis too. He seemed to really be happy with being in Atlanta, and that I was surprised a little bit by that. But at the end of the day, you got to start narrowing down once you get to this part of the season, and some people's stats were better than others. Better than Jackson, I agree. But again, they know that too. They know that he is the future. I think we all know Contreras is the future, but if we can get a trade piece in Jackson, why not showcase? I'm just going to throw that out there. Not that I think that's going to happen, but I'll just throw that out there for you. I'm not surprised at Camargo. I am. I genuinely am. And not because I think he earned it, not because I think he is a better player than some of these other guys. I just thought because he's so versatile, because he could be put into so many positions, and because our bench is struggling, and the name value and the history with the Braves, he would be placed there. Obviously, I was wrong. I don't think I was too far off there, but I was surprised. Let me see. Jackson had a base hit with not sure. I think you're talking to somebody else. I'm going to add this with Alex Jackson. Alex Jackson, I know we all talk about his bat and his average, but did y'all see the bomb he hit in spring training? Did y'all see that? Because I've been there, okay? And he hit it over the left field berm. That's a shot, okay? That is a shot. So as much as we want to talk about his offense, let's just give him a little credit here, too. He's going to be just fine in that role. As long as he's good behind the plate, that's what matters with catchers. I talked to Johnny Estrada about a month ago. And what he said is with rookies, you want them to be good at catching. You want them to be able to call a game. Because, look, Chip Carey said this the other night. I hate to steal everybody's quotes, but I'm going to steal it. If you can hold them to 2, you only need to score 3, right? So I don't need everybody to be to have a bat. Sometimes you have to have small ball. Sometimes you have to have a guy that's good behind the plate and can call a game. Brian McCann was a suitable hitter, but we all know he was better behind the plate than he was at the plate. That's just who he was. He led the team that way. If Jackson can do that for the time being, I don't see no problem with him being there. I'll take him over Tyler Flowers if you want to know the truth at the moment. I'll take anyone who you're paying him less, and you're probably gonna have somewhere around the same results, in my opinion. The Braves didn't release Phillip Ervin. He cleared waivers with Almani, and they are both option AAA, I believe. I heard he was released. I looked at the transaction sheet today. It said I don't think he was released. I think he was optioned, but they parted ways with him is basically what I was saying. Yeah, you caught me there. The Phillip Ervin was not released. That's not what I meant, but he was optioned. He will not be on the opening day roster. Alberto Amani as well. Let me see. I'd almost go with Irvin over Ender. Well, maybe. Do you know that Pablo Sandoval used to play in Venezuela with Ronald Acuna Sr.? Crazy, right? Yeah, a lot of those players come from over there, and it's crazy to know the age difference, right? Pablo Sandoval is really getting up there in age. I think he can still be suitable. There are, I don't know what you're trying to tell me here. Hang on a second. A lot of comments tonight. I really appreciate it, guys. Super chats are appreciated. There is no way that Jackson and Inciarte will do their job coming from the bench. I disagree. I think they'll be all right. I think Inciarte's last year with the Braves will be this year. I think Jackson, his time may be running out because Jackson's going to be an in-between piece, I think. I think he's buying time for William Contreras to be ready to come to the majors, and then he'll be buying time for Shea Langoliers to be coming into the majors. I just don't think he's going to be that level of talent. He's suitable. I just don't think he's going to be that level of talent. But if the Braves, again, can make him valuable, that is a good thing for the Braves. What do you think about the state of the bullpen? The bullpen doesn't scare me. I see Justin Redmond down there said that the bullpen scares. It does not scare me. It really doesn't. It might should, but it doesn't. You got Will Smith, who I think is going to have a rebound year. You got Tyler Matzik returning. You got, let me think. The only one I'd be worried about really is Luke Jackson and Grant Dayton, and I don't think they're going to make it very long. I think Grant Dayton, it's a matter of time before he gets out. You got Kyle Wright in the waiting. You got Tucker Davidson, Patrick Weigel. If you're not performing, the Braves will get you out of there. So I'm not worried about the bullpen. I know everybody is, but I'm not. I think if somebody's not performing, they're the next to go. I really think that's the case, and not to be that guy. And I don't think the Braves are going to view it that way necessarily, but I think that at the end of the day, it's a business. You know, if you're not doing your job and you're not being effective, you will be replaced. Ender can come in as a defensive replacement in the ninth inning, but he better not be getting any at bats this season. He's the king of soft ground ball outs. I disagree. I not with the last part, but with the first part. Ender coming in as a defensive replacement is kind of I mean, unless he's coming in for Ozuna, I don't see a point in that. If he's coming in for Pache, I just don't see the point. I don't see a point in him coming in for Acuna. And in the ninth inning, if it's that close of a game, stay out there and hit the next inning, you know, depending on the situation. So I don't view it that way. I think he's going to be a pinch hit role over a pitcher. I mean, you got to think we're not having DH rules this year. We're going back to the National League rules, the original National League rules, and you're going to have pinch hitters. Ender will have at bats this year, whether we like it or not. He will have at bats this year, but it's just the way it is for right now. Jackson either strikes out or home run, usually a strikeout. I would venture to ask this. What does Ozuna do? Hate to say it, but a lot of the time he either strikes out or hits a home run. It's obviously not as often with Alex Jackson, but he's also very young. Let him be good. If he gets a home run, he could have a 0 batting average, okay? And I would be fine if he's good behind the plate. We just don't need him to perform. That's the way I feel about it. Now, obviously, if we have runners on and he comes to the plate, I need him to clutch in that moment. But honestly, I don't need the 350 batting average out of Alex Jackson. I don't even need 250 would be suitable to me, honestly, out of Alex Jackson. Acuna goes 40-40, and Freddie has another MVP year. I say Acuna goes 50-50. I don't know if Freddie repeats, but I know Acuna eyeballed 40-40 a couple years ago, eyeballed 50-50 as well. I think that Acuna is going to be geared up, ready to go. He's noticeably slimmer. A lot of people are worried about his power. That obviously has not been a problem so far in spring training, and his speed is up. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. I am going to wrap it up with that. I got a lot of comments tonight. I really appreciate it. I just can't answer them all tonight. Sorry about it, but we are going to move into autograph of the day in just a second. Before we do, I want to thank you guys for watching. Again, want to promote Llerandi Gloves, www.llerandygloves.com. Go check them out. Really a great company with great products. Go check them out. I promise you won't be disappointed. And the prices are great. You put those prices against any other high-quality glove, you're not going to find it. I promise you. So go check them out again. Link is in the description below. Let's talk about autograph of the day. Today was a pretty easy one to go get off the shelf. A guy that has had a rough year, I would say, in terms of baseball because he hasn't been involved in it. He's a guy that's taking the mound tomorrow. Mike Soroka there. Got this a few years ago at spring training. Super nice guy. Absolute, just a super, super nice guy. And, I think we all wish him the best, but I've met him. He's a very nice guy. So I wish him the best in that regard. But, that's Mike Soroka again right there. Mike Soroka. Tomorrow he takes the mound versus the Red Sox at 12:05. Make sure you're checking in with Twitter, wherever you're going to watch it. MLB TV, it will be there. Make sure you tune in and watch Soroka take the mound, at least for one inning. We get to see him for a little while, so that'll be a good, fun watch. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. And we are going to wrap it up there. And, of course, we'll be here Thursday night. I guess that will be the day after opening day. Is that what that will be? I need to look, actually. So opening day is the 1st. No, that will be on opening day. We will be here Thursday night, depending on. Stay tuned on the community channel as to if things are changing. Obviously, tonight we had some technical difficulties. Of course, if things change, the community page is the best way to check. So make sure you do that. Again, opening day this week. Let me look and see what time. April 1st, it'll be at 2:05 p.m. So we will most likely be here at 8 o'clock p.m., maybe 7. I'm going to venture to say 8. And that'll be a fun show, fun opening day show. We'll get to talk about what happened in the game, and it'll work out just like that. So make sure you tune in then. But we are going to wrap it up with that, guys. Oh, one other thing. Go check out those videos that I dropped today. Those videos, I promise, it's worth a watch. First one, I dropped it's basically a new channel trailer, I guess. But I had to do a video for school. If you didn't know this, I am a college kid. I had to do a video for school, and it's basically a day in the life of ourselves. I had to put it together, and it's a good watch. It's, my life is fairly interesting, I would say. It follows me from whenever I get up in the morning at 3:30 all the way to being live with you guys here in the studio. So go check out that video, and of course, go check out the other video that I made earlier today. The video talking about just the roster in general, and that'll be a fun watch for you as well, especially if you follow the Braves regularly like I do. So go check it out. It talks about the roster all through the month of April, and of course the other video as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Appreciate the support. Always love coming live with you guys. It makes my day every time I do. Thank you again, guys. Check it out.